He's one of the most decorated student athletes in SLU basketball history. He finished as the 5th all-time leading scorer in Billiken's history. He currently serves as the TV analyst for Billiken's basketball. This is Scott Highmark on Scoops with Danny Mac. My guest is Scott Highmark, who makes his home right here in St. Louis, one of the great basketball players ever to come out of this town. And Scotty, first of all, thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You bet. What made you decide to stay at home and go to SLU?
Yeah, great question. It was interesting. I was reflecting on that the other day, and first of all, I always want to make sure people know Rich Grauer was the one that recruited me.
Right.
So he and his staff did an incredible job of recruiting me, and actually there were 4 or 5 of us from the St. Louis Eagles basketball club, including Erwin Claggett, Julian Winfield, and a couple of other guys. We all went together. So they kind of recruited us as a group. But I will tell you, Rich Grauer and his staff did an incredible job, handwritten notes every single day from Rich Grauer, from the time I was a sophomore till I was a junior until I had actually signed on the dotted line. And just the idea of being in my hometown, being able to play in front of my family and friends, get a great education, I wanted to go in the business school. It was just the perfect combination to stay right here in town.
What were the other schools you were looking at?
Well, it really came down to Mizzou.
Yeah.
I had visits to...
You would have been perfect. You and Norm Stewart together would have been great.
You know, ironically, I went on my visit and I came back, and a week later, they got their NCAA sanctions. I don't know if you remember that. It was in the early 90s. And so they lost the scholarships that they had offered me and 3 other guys. So it was kind of a little bit of an odd time. They were number 1 in the country, so it was very tempting. They had Doug Smith, Anthony Peeler. They had things rolling. But that became a little bit more clear to me that I was supposed to stay home once that happened. It was kind of came down to those 2 schools. But I took visits to Minnesota, Stanford, Iowa State, schools like that.
When you hear that the number 1 team in the country is recruiting you, does it put in perspective like, man, I belong. I'm pretty good at this?
Yeah, it was an honor that they would recruit me, but it was also scary because I wasn't sure, like, can I really play at this level? And I wasn't even sure if I could play at St. Louis until I got there. And one of the big things, in addition to Coach Grauer and my friends going there, was my freshman year was the first year of the Great Midwest Conference. So that was a game changer when you talk about conference affiliation, because they went from the MCC to the Great Midwest, which included Cincinnati and Memphis State at the time, and UAB and Dayton and Marquette and DePaul. And that was a game changer from an opportunity to play at the highest level. Okay. So I felt like I could play at the highest level, but stay in my hometown and go to the school I wanted to go to.
When you watch the game today, it seems like shooting the basketball is not an art anymore. You were one of the great shooters ever to come out of this town. What makes, a simple question, honestly, what makes a great shooter?
Mechanics and repetition is what I would say.
A lot of practice.
A lot of practice. But you can practice the wrong way, right? I mean, you and I both play golf. Well, you can go out and hit balls all day long, and if you're hitting them wrong...
It's not pretty.
Yeah. Jay Delsing or other people would say, well, you're just reinforcing bad habits. So really the important thing is to get the right mechanics early. And I had a coach in Memphis, Tennessee before I moved to St. Louis who taught me the mechanics. I was 12 years old. And he taught me the right mechanics, and I literally never changed my mechanics the rest of my life. And then it was just a matter of repetition and just wanting to. I wanted to be a gym rat and just live in the gym. But if I had bad mechanics, and that's why you and I do games, and when I see somebody with bad mechanics or the rotations off, it just bothers me.
Yeah.
Because I know you can't be a consistently pure shooter if your mechanics are wrong.
Coming up, more on Charlie Spoonhour and his impact on the Billiken program, as well as life after basketball, which includes broadcasting. This is ScoopsWithDannyMac.com. This is ScoopsWithDannyMac.com, a visit with local basketball legend Scott Highmark. Remember, you can see daily podcasts, videos, and articles on all things St. Louis sports at ScoopsWithDannyMac.com. You were recruited by Rich, but then you played a lot for Spoon.
Yeah.
When you think of Charlie Spoonhour, I love him. I did games with him. I loved being around him. It was so much fun. What was it like to play for Charlie Spoonhour?
It was the best. It was the best. In fact, in the recruiting process, of all the coaches that recruited me, came to my home, etc., I always thought Charlie Spoonhour, I said, that's the guy I'd love to play for. I wanted to go to school at St. Louis U.
Yeah.
But in the recruiting process, he was so disarming, so fun, and you could just tell right away that he truly cared about you as a person.
Yeah.
And so he came in my sophomore year, and it was such a blessing because I ended up getting to play for him. And the first thing he said to me was after my freshman year, we were 5-23. And he said, listen, this is not your job. this is not life and death. This is my job, but this is supposed to be fun. And we're gonna make basketball fun for you. We're gonna work hard, but we're also gonna play hard. And he was consistent to that word from the day he got there to the day I graduated. Whether I went 2 for 18 from the field one game, it didn't matter. I didn't feel as if he had shame. He always would ask me about my family, my grades, my girlfriend, whatever. He just truly cared about you. As you know, he was authentic, he was genuine. He just made a lot of fun.
I always say that spoonball was one of the great eras ever in basketball in this town, whether you're talking about high school or college.
Yeah.
You were in the middle of it. You were the face of it in a lot of ways. You, Erwin Claggett, H. Waldman, Donnie Dobbs, all these great names that come from the past. If you were to define what spoonball was, how would you define it?
You know, it was a fun brand of basketball to watch. I think that's why we had such great crowds, 17, 18,000 people. You had a leader like Charlie Spoonhour. You don't hear often people say, I went to the game to watch a coach. But I hear that all the time. People love to come watch and support Charlie Spoonhour because he was as a person. But it was a fun brand of basketball. And I credit Spoon. If you think about his days at Southwest Missouri State or Missouri State, the way they played down there was very much a defensive-minded, slow it down, work the clock, very hard team to play against, but didn't score a lot of points. But he came here, saw that we had a different skill set, probably weren't as defensively minded as he would like, and he changed the way he coached based on the personnel, which I think ended up being a fun brand of basketball and having a little bit of local connections where you had kids from St. Louis playing at your hometown school for a coach like Charlie Spoonhour. It really just became magical.
Broadcasting now is part of your life. How much do you enjoy it?
I love it. I mean, I blame you. You got me into it.
I did. I'm the one that took you down this ugly road.
You did. You absolutely. You said, hey, have you ever done any television? I said, absolutely not. He said, let's do a game.
Yeah.
I go, okay. And here we are 25 years later.
That's great.
I love it. I love being with you. I love calling the games. It keeps me connected. I still get butterflies before the game as if I'm playing. The only thing is after, I still have conviction about my hometown team winning, but I sleep much better at night than I did as a player or coach.
What do you think about the team now under Travis Ford and just the style they play and the excitement they're starting to bring back to Billiken basketball?
I tell you what, I love the way he's building a program. He's building a sustainable program. He did not come in and try to say this is going to be a quick fix or we're going to get a bunch of junior college players. He brought in freshmen. And he brought a few transfers to complement, but he's building it steadily over time and building a foundation that's building upon itself and stacking recruiting class. So now you're in year 4, and I think whether they make the tournament or not, this year's team is better than last year. They have more depth. They're starting to play the style that he wants to play. Think about it. He played for Rick Pitino. He wants to play fast. He wants to get out. He wants to shoot it. He'd like to score more in the 70s and 80s. They have not had the personnel yet to do that, but you're starting to see him build the depth so that he can ultimately play the style. But I think in year 4, he's right on track. This could be a top 25 perennial program in Travis Ford. We're very lucky to have him.
It's kind of, you look at Gonzaga and you look at some of these, the programs that don't play in the huge Power Fives, but yet they have a great situation of a building, a situation of a city that supports it, which Billiken fans will and the basketball fans here will. I'm kind of with you. I think you can make this into a team that not only gets into the NCAA tournament every year, but does some damage. And then you get that 1 or 2 kids that are elite, and you never know what happens.
Yeah. It doesn't take a lot in basketball.
Right.
You get a good core foundation. You've got incredible facilities, probably the best facilities in their league. You've got tons of community support. You're in a major market. You get lots of exposure. And you put that all together with a coach who's dynamic and has a dynamic staff that can recruit and attract the right kids, and a good culture and a good administration with Chris May. I think they've got all the elements to, like you said, be a Gonzaga, be a St. Mary's, be a Xavier, a Butler. You think about the consistency that those programs have had for the last 20 years, that's what you're trying to build. A Villanova would be a good example.
I'm going to wrap it up with this. I always use you as an example with parents. I'm serious with parents or young kids that I talk to about recruiting, because I'll get asked about it. And I said, well, you can go to that big school out there, and that's fine if that's what you want to do, and that's great. I said, but if you're looking for life beyond basketball and you want to stay at home and create a name to where you can build a business and your second life, so to speak, look what Scott Highmark has done. So for people that don't know, explain what you're doing, and I know you're highly successful in your business.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I've been in the investment wealth management business since I got out of school. I played for almost a year in Australia and New Zealand, and then figured out I was too slow and not good enough to play for a living, and came back and started in the business. And now we have our own company, Mosaic Family Wealth, and just incredibly grateful that I've been put in this situation to be able to work with great families and great employees and clients, and love what I do. I'm more excited now than I've ever been. But it's hard to think about that as an 18-year-old. Fortunately,
Exactly.
my parents were able to give me some of that perspective, and they said, Scott, basketball is going to end at some point. You're probably going to be 22, 23 years old. Think about the next 60 years of your life beyond that. And there's not a day, not that you still have got to deliver to clients, you got to deliver value every single day in your business just like you do. But there's not a day that go by where somebody doesn't bring up Billiken basketball in my career and that sort of thing. So it can be helpful if used in the right way. And again, every kid thinks they're going to play in the NBA, and we know that it's the top of the top, and most of them aren't. So the ability to stay in my hometown, play for my hometown team, and then make a career, build a family, and have a legacy here, I'm just incredibly grateful.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.